Well, down the receiving end of that. The first order of business would be the Board of Education election. Oh, I'm sorry. I've never done. Rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, obviously, I'm new to this and I don't plan on doing it much longer. Our first order of business is the election of a new chairperson of the Old Saybrook Board of Education. So we have paper ballots for you. And you want that.
Would there be an? Yeah, typically.
I'm used to a hand vote, so that's why you have.
So
to
we'll
hear
be
me.
able to do that for.
Are there-
Is there anyone who would like to suggest that like to be
Okay.
nominated?
So at this point, we'll entertain any nominations for chairperson of the board. Of Education.
I nominate Kelly.
Is
Second,
there a second?
second.
Any discussion?
Accept.
I accept the nomination. Thank you.
And then we go by paper
At
ballot.
this point, now you vote by paper ballot. Any others?
Yeah, right.
Any,
Yeah.
any other nominations before we close ballot?
Next thing, with the company, if you don't mind, thank you.
I'll put it up.
We do an anchor count, make sure we have the same number of people that we do ballots.
I will be right back.
Okay, we need a witness.
Would you like me to witness?
My permit party.
I've already screwed up at the beginning.
Make it official as possible.
There's a few hanging chads.
It's back into the routine. We're getting there. Getting there. Now we just gotta figure, it was just like us, now we just gotta figure out how we're gonna like bring middle school soccer into everything, but other than that. That cross country and soccer this year. Those days. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm not getting soccer games. I used to like just automatically get them on my phone, so I guess I'm on the
You're from-
Like I was hoping I still get one. Like,
That was dramatic. So by unanimous vote of 8-0, congratulations, Kelly, you and your person.
Great,
This belongs to you
Thank
now.
you, thank you, so you get to hit it just for right now. Okay. I do. So the first thing that I will do now in my new role will be to call for a vote on the vice chair of the Board of Education. So we'll follow the same practice and hand out ballots. Thank you all so much for your faith in me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to working together.
Thank you.
Oh, I need to mind. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So now we'll open the floor to nominations for vice chair. Eileen first.
I'd like to nominate Ellen Heidler for vice president.
Second that. Okay, seconded by Jane.
I'd like to nominate Karina Julius.
Have a second? Any other nominations?
And maybe we should ask Ellen accept.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
I went
accept
through,
it.
I was going through nominations first. Yeah,
I do.
Alan, do you
I
accept,
the nomination.
Brenda, do you accept the nomination? Okay, if we have no other calls, then we will go to the vote.
I would, you have anything you'd like to say before?
Go ahead, if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, would welcome the opportunity to be, selected as vice chair. I think that, with the past 5 years of experience, and supporting the board as I have, over the time, I think that I would be well qualified. I won't hesitate to step in if Kelly is absent for any reason to run a meeting, and, I think that, I'd be honored to represent the board on the executive committee.
Well, I'm happy to be back, everyone. So, thanks for having me back as a Board of Ed member. So I served as vice chair under Kelly initially, then under Tara, and then under Trevor. And I'd love to serve under, Kelly again and support all board members so that all board members have a voice. Certainly, have run meetings, run an organized, meeting, and with order. And, I appreciate all the board members and look forward to serving again in this vice chair role. Been a board member, I think it's 9 years with the Board of Ed here. I was previous Board of Ed member in East Haddam District for 5 years. So again, thanks for nominating me, and I'd be honored to serve in the role as vice chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can get kicked out so anyway, I guess, huh? That's okay, you're welcome over here.
That was fun for a minute. Happy Graham. I know you did the slowness. I ran into stuff.
And now we
There's
can sell more merch.
Put stickers on our laptops.
But I need some for the kids because they buy things with their tickets. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it'll start,
Sure.
as people go back to the Yeah. press for different.
Pardon?
Good summer.
It was pretty good, yeah.
I just love it.
That's kind of weird.
Nice, but
This is my kind
they
of.
just go into the rooms with the air conditioning.
So we now by vote have a new vice chair of Alan Hickathrift, so congratulations. Alan.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So now we do the last of our voting for today, right? Which is, we have Keith Adams, but we don't have to.
You don't need to go.
We don't have to, we just appoint, okay.
Just in case of emergency.
Okay, just in case of emergency, so, all right, now we do a little bit of the seat swapping, so Alan, you get to come on up to your chair. Slide down. We don't, apparently, I couldn't remember. if we did. Yeah, do you still know?
I don't think I'm up on the ballot, so,
Okay,
but yes, I'm still here.
perfect. Okay, perfect.
Is it-
So,
Is it
one
normally a
after?
2-year?
I'm
Just
very
out of
so
curiosity.
happy.
you slide, I think you slide that way.
I slide this way?
Yes.
I slide this way.
Next fall, there has to be another.
So it's every year, right? It's a 2-year, no, usually every 4 years. Oh, it is every 4, okay.
Is it every election?
Every election.
Oh, every election.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, every election is yours, yeah.
Okay. You don't want me to keep them forever and ever?
No, I'll keep it
And
for
potentially
forever.
lose them? All right. All right, thank you all. All right, so now we'll move on to our audience of citizens. If there's anyone in the audience of citizens that would like to address the board at this time, you're welcome.
I just came to listen. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. Trent, anyone online?
There is not.
Okay, perfect. All right, then we will move on from that. And I will welcome our student board rep. So would you just like to introduce yourself to the board?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam. I'm a junior this year. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really honored to have been elected by my peers for the position and to get to share with you guys what's going on in the school. Very exciting.
So we're really excited to have you here and welcome your perspective. You're free to weigh in on any topic. It doesn't just have to be your report. We're looking for you to represent your peers and bring whatever thoughts you have to the table.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect. I don't expect Sam to have it. Do you have a report for today?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. All right.
KB is unable to attend tonight. So Sam, you're right, so.
All right, there you go. Sam, first one.
All right, so first we have our academic updates. So we have the freshman class Hazen trip, which started today with Camp Hazen people coming to the school. And we were outside doing a lot of like team building games. And then this Friday, September 13th, the freshmen will be traveling to the camp to be doing a lot of the activities that they have to offer there. Then we had freshman orientation with the high school link crew on August 22nd. That was a success. That went very well. Class meetings are during Flex, September 3rd, 4th, 10th, and 11th for each class. The first National Honor Society meeting is September 10th, so that's today. The trip to Boston in October with Mrs. Tori Riley is now open to anyone who is interested in that. And the junior class meeting for anyone interested in running for the class executive board was today. Then on to sports, we have school athletics have all started practicing and playing for the year. So boys' first soccer game was on the 5th, which they won 5-0. And I believe they did also play East Hampton this past weekend, and they unfortunately did lose. The girls' field hockey team had their first season game on the 6th. Girls' soccer had their first game on the 6th, and girls' swimming had their first competition on the 6th. And boys and girls cross country began last week, and the girls cross country had a meet in Martha's Vineyard this past weekend, which I believe went very well. Onto clubs. The drama club's fall play this year is 12 Angry Jurors. So auditions were on September 9th, and performance dates are set for November 15th and 16th. And the drama board met on September 4th to discuss how the club will be run with our new director, Mrs. Willis. Student government had their first meeting on September 5th. Rambler, the newspaper, had their first meeting on September 9th, and the editors have been visiting freshman English classes to recruit new writers for the year. There is a Model UN club in creation by Talia Bauer and Mrs. Tori Riley, and members will prepare for and participate in this year's Model UN conference in December. Our school has Asian countries to choose from. Ecology Club has their first meeting on the 12th. The first super meeting is on the 12th as well. And Interact Club has their first meeting on September 18th. Spanish Club and Health Club both had their first meetings today. Then JV and I also decided to add a section about common student opinions that we're hearing about the school. So the new system of the Securely Pass has been very unpopular. So a lot of the students are saying that it's very inconvenient, it takes too much time, and they preferred the written pass system. Most enjoyed the new software system, the Vivi, the TVs that are now in a lot of the classrooms. But some believe it's better than the smart boards, but others don't like that there aren't any pens used to write on the boards, as well as some of the technological problems, such as the quality of text shown on the TVs and kind of the speed that they run at. AP psychology students, more specifically, are very displeased to not have a physical textbook in such a rigorous class. Some purchase their own copy, but the price of about $200 is not an accessible option for most. And then some students are wanting to have an international language field trip this year or next year for the world languages class, which we've been hearing about a Spanish class trip to Spain. So there's a lot of interest in that. And that's it so far. Thank you.
Yeah, questions for Sam?
Sam, I just want to say thank you.
Especially, and pass my thanks to JV as well for your student opinion section. Your voice at JV's and all the students is so vitally important for myself. I believe for everyone else as well, because it helps educate me and us to make more informed decisions. I encourage you to go back, work with JV, work with your peers, work with the super and the student government, and just access as many opinions as you can. And just like you did today, bring those items forward. The more that we know, the better that we can do our job. So, and I hope we can help you to become more of, you already are, an advocate for positive change in your school and in this community. So thank you.
Of course. And I'd also like to mention that JV did a lot of hard work making this possible, and we worked really hard together to kind of make up a new format, and he was very bummed that he could not be here tonight.
We'll take her water here.
I just have a question really for Joe. Is that Securely Pass, is that the one that was implemented to, like, that's the electronic hall pass, right? That was implemented, I think, in the last year.
Yeah, we piloted it toward the end of the year. We had the Flex software is something we implemented fully, where students could make their own appointments and teachers could schedule appointments. And it was a way to really organize, almost like college office hours. Securely Pass it's really designed to actually give the kids more independence, because teachers can have a kiosk in their room and the kids go up and they do the pass and the teacher simply clicks or approves it, or they can have it on automatic. It's in its infancy. And we've been mentioning in our class meetings too, particularly student government, we're going to be going to them to get that voice. How's it working? How's it going? And it is new. We've only been running it for 5 days, basically. But we're doing it on a trial basis. And we have until January to decide whether we're going to keep it or not. But again, it was designed in mind, not so much to tie the kids down to the classroom, but again, another way for them to be independent and move about the building. It also provides us with data. It does a nice job tracking, how often the kids are out, when they're out, should there be a problem down the road. But we're not sitting there monitoring it like Big Brother either. So again, it was supposed to be something simple.
All right, thank you. It's a nice report.
Karen and then Jane.
Well, so thank you, Joe. That was my question. I wasn't clear on what Securely Pass was. So I just look forward in the future for further feedback on that and see how it's going. But great report. And I love that you added the student opinion piece. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.
Jane.
Yeah, so I'm not sure on the psychology class, is that AP psychology or just?
Yes.
Okay, and is that a new change? That we don't offer a textbook with that?
I can take that,
Okay.
Joe, because I got the same question. I think part of the design of the course was to transition the textbooks to online textbooks, because you heard a lot about kids don't want to carry books around. There are physical copies of that particular textbook in class for kids to have available, which is not one designated for each student. But now that class has started again, I've gotten a couple of questions, and I have Dr. Fletcher looking into the appropriate answer for that. But unfortunately, that was the way the course was designed going into this.
Yeah, I certainly can understand that. And just wondering, I don't know if it's a 20-kid class or a 6-kid class or a 30-kid class, that might factor in as well. What we might be able to do.
Decision was made at one point to transition to all digital materials, but still having some physical textbooks in the course in the event some kids wanted, but not having to transport it home or put it in a locker. They even use lockers anymore. But I know that's come to my attention in the last few days.
Okay, thank you. I mean,
Welcome to Yale State Board of Education. So exactly what Kelly was saying. So appreciate your student voice. Essential. My question actually is, when is the first you have the first super meeting, but how do kids learn about being part of that?
Well, every year there's we look into a new way of recruiting people, because it's not so much a group that you can just join. It's kind of like you have to apply and be chosen, just as 8th graders going into freshman year are selected by their teachers. And then so it's kind of more towards the 2nd or 3rd meeting, I believe, that new members are invited to join us. There will be the freshmen, but not any upperclassmen that are newer on Thursday.
Okay, so I guess I was I didn't realize that you had to apply to be on Zoom. I thought anybody could just participate if they wanted to. I didn't know that.
That's how it's traditionally been. This will be my second one. I've only been to one super meeting so far.
No, I meant that just students can't just join, so you have a cross section of students.
I think if I can chime in, we're actually looking at, you know, I haven't had a really chance to sit down with Chris either, or the kids to talk about the new switch here, but we're thinking of possibly moving toward making it part of student government, because there is a lot of overlap. So everything's kind of in flux right now in terms of how kids are selected and how we're going to move forward. But we have a system now. We're going to look at it and get kid input in terms of the best way to proceed.
Thanks, Joe. Okay. Thank you very much, Sam. That was a very thorough report, and I think you can tell appreciated by the board, and especially with the spin of the addition of the opinions was very helpful. Okay, moving on to our next item, do we have any correspondence, Karen, on the?
Yeah, the only thing we have this week is the September 24 K liaison newsletter, so I'll just pass that around. That's all we have.
Thanks, I sent that to Trent, so board members know that you can get online to any kind of webinars that Gabe is providing, on a variety of topics. And I wanted just to do a question, is everybody getting the Cape Journal? No.
In the mail.
Okay, so I'll make sure that all your information is provided to Gabe, so you can get it digitally as well. Okay, and there's some good articles in there.
Thanks, Eileen.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay. Our next item is we need a motion to approve the meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes from June 11th.
So moved.
Moved by Karen,
Second.
seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Right, none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Alan's abstaining. John?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Right, and then we'll move on to our first educational issue, which is our opening week reports. I'll hand it over to Superintendent Trustee.
Thank you. I don't know if I didn't care for it. We already stopped school again. It's fine. Thank you, Kelly.
Kelly's great.
It's up in your back a bit. Coming up opening week, it was a great opening to the start of school. There's always a hiccup here or there. But now might be a good opportunity as well. I know we just met yesterday for the first time, but welcome back, Alan. And wait to get through the formalities first. But we had a great opening. And one of the things I noticed right out of the gate is standing in front of the high school on the first day of school, and just how, not just enthusiastic the kids were, but how well behaved they were for the first day of school coming back, including and not limited to the senior prank that was, I didn't know it was a prank. I just thought it was kids decorating the school. Sidewalk chalk all throughout the high school. So it was a great opening week. You know, there's always gonna be a hiccup here or there, and the staff have been remarkable in welcoming our kids back. Obviously, the information is provided in your packet, but just in the essence of time, there is something in front of all of you. Some of you were able to attend convocation, you already know this, or if you watched our back to school video, changed it a little bit this year. But you're also looking at, which is on my bottle, and the stickers in front of you are our updated RAM logo. I know it seems silly, but that was actually one of the very first things in this room that somebody asked me to do when I was appointed. And just so that the board is aware and the community is aware, this wasn't something that we just pulled out of the sky. The existing logo was a bit dated, and I heard from some community members, and then very shortly after, I heard from some of your colleagues at the high school, or some of the staff saying, can we update it? And then the Red Page merge project last year came out, and I went to order something. There was a different RAM logo on that than there was on what all of our documentation said. So at that point, I asked Mr. Trent, what's the deal with that? And he said, it's a funny story, Chris, the kids want to update it, but they can't use the one that they did because the one on there was copyrighted. So that began a journey. I won't call out a former student, but we actually consulted with a former Old Saybrook High School recent graduate, who's also a talented artist, sort of mocked this up for us, but we were able to have to go and digitize it. And that was the end result. So we've had a lot of questions and a lot of people asking, where can I get it? Where can I find it? The copyright problem, the good news is we own it, we can replicate it. But it takes a little time to get things in on it, so we wanted to at least make sure we had something to hand you guys to say this is sort of the new look of the Old Saybrook RAM. So it seems silly, but that's one of the things that, in speaking to Sam, to a lot of your classmates, I actually had a classmate pull me into the gym and say, can you get rid of this thing at center court? And I said, no, but we'll work toward it. So If it looks surprising to you and why you have a sticker for your water bottle or whatever you say choose in front of you, we want to make sure that in your first meeting that the board had a little taste of where we're going in that direction. But yeah, I will turn to the question.
Relating to this, so in terms of RAM merch, is there, how do we get RAM merch?
But I'm glad you asked. So Mr. Saunders is actually, so there's a summer store, a fall store, the school store. We had to pause the fall store because while we were going through this process, in the coming, I don't want pressure on him, but it better be coming days, not weeks, but he knows he's working in the next coming weeks
Okay.
to put out a new store for Rampage merch that the community is able to purchase.
So online?
It'll be all online, yes.
Okay.
Just like
On
the
our
traditional
website.
stores that we send out.
Okay.
There's gonna be an updated one coming in the coming days, if not.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions on the opening report? Eileen?
So actually for Goodwin School, it says something about Chief Spear presented a safety update.
Sure, I can answer that. Every year, Chief Spira comes to all three buildings and does an overview of our codes, reviews all safety precautions, secure campus philosophy, and answers any questions that teachers may have. So this is an annual update that we do every year in all three buildings.
Anything particular come up?
Nope, nothing new.
Thanks.
Eileen is on here. Oh, you're good, okay.
So I do have a question relating to safety and it may have to come back. So in light of, again, more school shootings recently as we're kicking off another school year. So I understand, our staff goes through training, our kids go through training. But what I'm thinking about is what is the protocol? What is the instruction for our coaches and our kids when they're out practicing? When they're at games? It's never really occurred to me before, and I'm thinking about that now. And so it may be something that, our AD could get back to me on, or has there been consideration about this no.
Yeah, the partial answer to your question, obviously, we have to consider everything.
Yeah.
Right. There are certain things, and I just can say from my past experience, and I'm sure the question will arise here, is that a lot of times we're not able to share specifics as to what the protocols or procedures are for obvious reasons. You don't want that information to get in the wrong hands. But the one thing I try to always tell parents especially is, like, we know, we understand. We certainly, this is something that was evident in the first day of school. That's something that we take very seriously. The most important thing we do is protecting our kids and our staff members. So when they're with us at all times, and even when they're not with us, when we partner with town organizations to ensure that. So you're right, it is an ever-changing world that I wish this was a conversation we had to have. But unfortunately, it's the world we live in and we have to be prepared.
So I understand that. I understand the confidentiality piece of that. Again, my concern is thinking about the kids out in open fields and so and parents, I've had kids playing sports over the years. It's been a while. There's protocol.
So maybe we can take this back. I'll discuss with superintendent.
Yeah, that's what I said.
how
I
we
don't
can-
expect an answer right now. I just,
And further, either to get that information to the board or an appropriate venue so that we can
That's
make
fine.
sure that we're the answer.
and just with the recent school shooting, I'm just thinking about it all over again.
Yeah.
So make sure everybody's protected.
And I would imagine that that's not only for just, like, we want to make sure that that's not only for just sports, right? But also for anything that would be outside,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
In terms of extracurricular activity.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah.
And I did not expect an answer this evening.
Yeah.
I just went in the queue.
That's fair. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just have a question for Sharon. Celebration of learning at the middle school. Do all students get celebrated?
So what we do is, the students get opportunities to do a variety of summer activities, and for each activity they do, they get a ticket. So they could do the 2, which is kind of the basic requirement, or they could do 20 if they wanted to, and then we have this big celebration. It's really fun and kicks off the year. We talk about our expectations and our blue ticket program. And the kids get called up to win raffle prizes and play in games and win prizes through the games. So to be able to participate, they have to do the actual summer activities.
So it's not just reading, if you do volunteering or.
Reading is one of the activities. They have to pick one of the activities from the reading list, and then they can pick any other. And it covers all content areas, including the specials areas. That's just a way to encourage them to do some fun learning in the summer.
Okay, so we'll move on to the student enrollment.
So right now, our unofficial enrollment is, it's not official until October first. Our actual enrollment as of 9/1 was 1,033 students, which is actually up from the projected enrollment that you all were given last year during the budget process. But obviously, the official enrollment date is October 1st, and we'll keep the board updated on when our numbers become official, but we have more kids now than you thought you were last week.
Which is a great thing.
Like 20.
Yeah, I'll take it. Okay, thank you. All right, and then our magnet school enrollment.
Currently, we estimate about 11 kids going to magnet schools, whether it's a learn school or grade science, and the cost for those schools. Those are just a reminder for every student that goes to magnet school, there is a cost that is passed along to the local district of sending that for that student there. And the cost ranges anywhere from about $6,500 to about $4,000 per student. Currently have one student, I believe, going to a middle school. All the other of the 11 will be attending some sort of high school.
Any questions? Yes, and that was an increase from last year. Do you know, is that increase due to siblings, or do we have any insight as to what the increase?
I don't, so similar to the enrollment, nothing's technically official until October 1 as well. So we won't even get billed until the official enrollment. So that's something that we'll certainly revisit on the agenda once it's official. But the rest can't even officially bill the sending districts until the October 1 is.
I was just more curious from what's attracting them away from our schools that start into the magnet schools.
Yeah.
One trend. So that's, I'm glad, it's a good question. We tried to actually spend some summer having this conversation. Why are kids leaving here to go somewhere? So there's certain things that we can't compete with. Marine Science Academy, right now, we're
Number
not
one
built
high
that
school
way.
in Connecticut, right?
Sometimes it's extracurricular, so kids going for sports and things along those lines. We are in the data compiling stage of that conversation. But one of the questions that we pose to each other and that we're gonna start posing with the administrative team is, okay, where are we using our kids to? And is there some way that we can combat that to keep our kids home? I don't have an answer for that now, but I can assure you that there's proof in my office that we're looking at it right now.
I'll take a note so that we can bring that back.
Another question, maybe can we get us at a different time? So there are 11 students now, but my question is that last year there were 9. So are some of those students repeating magnet school or some of them brand new?
They will, and again, I don't know what the population was last year, but of that 11, it'd be repeats. There would
Was it
be,
8 last year?
there were
No,
9.
I'm just curious to know, they're new or what grade they're coming from or that.
I think that's all part of the information.
That would all be, yeah, because a student may have attended last year, but had the intentions of returning to that magnet school, but for something may have changed. That's why we don't officially include them as magnet school students until October 1. They have to be there by October 1 to count. So even though it's the first meeting of the year, we're gonna give you information, a lot of it's still sort of.
It's a lottery. So if you're supposed to lottery, it is.
Somewhat.
So has there been any efforts, and I know you're compiling information now, in terms of a questionnaire or just reaching out to the parents of the students, just to find out, informal survey, whatever the case may be, just to find out from the source, if you will. Has it been efforts or will there be?
There has been actually, Dr. Bachman shared with me last year's 8th grade exit interviews for kids who were attending other programs. Now, there are kids that are gonna attend technical schools that we technically we can't compete with. There are kids that are based on the information that we're looking at. As I said, sometimes it's athletics, sometimes it's particular, if it's a trade or a particular school, it could be siblings attended that magnet school. So we are gathering that data from our kids that are exiting 8th grade before they get into high school. We're compiling everything now to look at the amount of kids that, I don't want any kids, but we're sort of at its infancy stages right now about what can we do internally to try to make sure that whether it's going from middle school to high school is attractive for all learners to want to stay here. But I do know in my experience that kids who choose magnet schools for other reasons, if you have other offerings in your local district, I have seen kids come back. Maybe not at the scale that we're dealing with yet, but that is definitely on our project list.
And the technical schools are not included in this. This is strictly that.
There's no lot of that.
I was gonna say, I think it's the first time, maybe that, I don't know that a middle school student is going to a magnet school.
That's the only one that, it's not uncommon, maybe it's uncommon here, but.
But the district can't really say no.
It sounds like we will have an analysis of this. We'll bring the results back to the board at some, or get the information back to the board in some way, shape or form. For discussion.
I'm going.
Okay, perfect. So we'll move on to the revised academic calendar.
Yes, so during the process of creating last year's academic calendar, there was a miscalculation on the number of days in one particular month. Which the result is, the good news is Sam, you get to get out a date earlier, but it would take board action to change the last day of school from June 17th to June 16th. The calculation error was counted too many days in one particular month. So we have to adjust the calendar, but we want to make sure that the board sets the calendar, that the board is in doing that. So the good news is kids can get out, everyone will get out of here.
They're looking for the revised calendar.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised academic calendar as presented, please.
So Karen, seconded by Jane. Any further discussion? I just have a question about the 16th is a Monday. Is there any consideration or thought around that?
Fortunately, it's 180 days.
Yeah.
And it falls when it falls.
Yeah.
I think that's a conversation we can have as we get into late fall, early winter for next year's calendar, but this one had already gone out to print with a miscalculation, so I think because it's the first meeting of the year, we need to rectify this one for now.
And then that's gonna be a half day?
Well, could we, I'm just, oh, sorry.
Jane.
Cause I think that's a really valid point, Karina, that, to have the last day of school be a half day Monday. And if I don't think we want to get too far down the line. We might, as a board, have the authority to take away a snow day, a built-in snowflake day. Which, for example, usually there's one, I apologize, my drive is still loading. But right around Memorial Day, we could potentially look at that. And I mean, we're never gonna be able to guess how many snow days we're gonna have. But we've been pretty lucky the last few years. We haven't had too many rough winters. And I think people could appreciate having a last day of school on a Friday. And you can't change that. Like, it would be kind of sad to have to take an extra day on Memorial Day weekend. And knowing that we're gonna have to go to school on a Monday is where I'm going with that. So, don't know if that has to be at a different board meeting, but I feel like that could be a decision we make early enough to be able to get that locked in. You know what I mean? So like, all things being equal.
So I don't want to jinx anything with snow days. So I know we've been, and I mean jinx it where if we've had mild winters, I don't want the big one. So that's my hesitation on the
Right,
snow.
well, and there's no way we're gonna control that.
No.
It doesn't matter.
Or can you swap
you
it
know.
for a half day on the day before Thanksgiving?
I think there could be some flexibility, but not knowing the entire process of how it got, so you guys adopted this like right before I got here. So the process could be different from place to place. And I'm not 100% certain on the flexibility. There might be some collective bargaining implications in that too, so I don't want to really answer that what I can do is we can have this discussion and see if there's more additional options we can bring back to the board. And I agree with you, I think sooner rather than later so people can plan. I mean, the answer could very well be no, but I'm not comfortable saying that right now. I want to make sure there are other implications we're not thinking of.
I think that's a good suggestion. There's a calendar committee that put it together. I was on that calendar committee. I think maybe if, Pam pulls that group together and considers different options, that might be something.
You might be surprised to know, we have already fielded, not a lot, but some calls saying, when is the last day of school? So people are
Oh, yeah.
already asking, so.
Oh, that's right.
And so, obviously right now, we're kind of saying. It's currently scheduled as this, but we knew that the calendar was gonna have to change in some way, so. People are kind of waiting, some people are waiting for that answer, it's not like dozens, but we do get that call as people start scheduling their vacations. Not just for the end of year, but, if you're gonna do it around Memorial Day, spring break, whatever, people are already booking stuff, so.
And mind you, I'm not trying to be elusive, I come from a district where our kids went 181 days. So the board always had that flexibility to cancel that extra 181st day if they needed to. So that's where I just wanna be careful as far as how I would advise you to do that, because I don't wanna step on anyone's toes till I know what they're saying.
And so am I hearing that if we approve this calendar, we're approving it with the potential to reassess and change it again, or are we saying this approval will be the lockdown to the calendar?
I would say as it stands, this approval would be the calendar, and it already is, it's just the days were miscalculated every month. So
Right.
technically what you approved is the 16th, it was just doesn't want to reflected in that. You would have to approve that date, and if the board wanted to re-engage in that conversation is to examine that Monday. You always reserve that right, if that's sort of the will of the board to look into it, we can certainly have that conversation and have the, talk to the appropriate people.
I'm not sure if the last day of school has ever been moved up. And that's what that's my concern is like, we oftentimes, and certainly before we had the snowflake days, had to extend school, and that's never fun, but that's just a fact, like we have, we just have to do that if we have a bad winter. But once you lock it in, if you get, you build something you cannot change. And that's what I'm a little scared about, building in a calendar where we communicated to everybody that school will definitely be through the Monday. So as long as we have an option to change that last day of school and move it forward, I think that's a safe.
Yeah, you're always gonna have that right anyway, because let's say you have 3 days built in for snow, if we get 6, you're going 3 days later, so it's always.
Oh, we can always
Yeah.
scoot it back.
No,
Well, that happens all the time. I'm just saying, have we ever shortened it? We've never shortened it, as far as I know, since I.
With 180 would be hard to do, yeah.
I think that's the point though now, Jane, is that we have to coordinate it by one day in terms of the communication on the calendar. And so the earlier that we can do that, if we want to revisit that and the board chooses to bring that back to the calendar committee for further discussion on anything else for this potential year, then we have the ability to do that. But at least if we can communicate to parents right now that it's at least going to the day before, right? If nothing else.
And there are other ramifications for that as well, like a lot of planning goes around last day of school, not just with events in school, safe crowd is a big one, and you need to lock those things in, so. Yeah, I
I'm a
don't,
safe person.
I'm hesitant to say, well, let's lock it in today, and then maybe we'll move it up to the 14th, because there's a lot of planning that goes in, and we've already sort of disrupted people unintentionally at this point. I think if you really want to have that conversation, probably best suited moving forward through the committee, but again, there are certain rules as far as representation on the committee, that's why I don't want to totally speak for them.
And will this then drive graduation to occur on a Monday? I mean, that's like, what's going through my mind is anybody gonna change their vacation plan to go for a half day on a Monday? And right, I mean, obviously, all due respect to our school system and our calendar. And there's a whole lot of, for me, I think there's a whole lot of benefit to see if it can be moved back to the 13th.
Friday.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
So, anyway.
Okay, so we have a motion on the,
Just a quick thing I want to say, that I'm glad that the calendar includes Wednesday before Thanksgiving, teachers have off. Because they used to have half day and that's like crazy.
Right, and so like, do we want to go back to the committee and say, hey, would you be willing to trade in a half day to not have to come back on a Monday?
Whatever it is, I'm just talking, about Thanksgiving time.
That's what,
And also, they put on you put on the calendar various religious holidays. So you hope that by putting this out, the teachers are sensitive to what they're giving out in terms of homework know, things like that, because it's on the calendar.
I think we're veering a little bit off, for what the appropriate question is right now that we have to call. So we have a vote on the floor, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've not seconded.
Was
It's just awkward. I voted no.
Two opposed, so for Jane and Jane, any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. All right, now we are going, I need a motion to go into executive session. Oh, meeting schedule, I'm sorry, I skipped that over. Sorry, 2025 meeting schedule.
Or in your packet.
Any questions on the meeting
Questions
schedule?
on the-
I think that one of the dates, I think sometimes we don't have it, it might be like before Thanksgiving. One of the dates, but I think we usually address it as we get to it.
Typically, yeah.
Mhm.
All right, hearing no further discussion on the meeting schedule, I will need a motion to go into executive session, inviting in Superintendent Drumstick.
Sorry, for the town clerk, I need a motion to approve the 2025.
Oh, you do, okay. Thank you, Trent.
We have to get it documented.
So we need a motion to approve the 2025 meeting schedule. Make a motion by Alan, seconded by Karen, all in favor? Aye, I'm sorry. Any objections?
If there's a change, you just let the town clerk know. We always do.
Yes, yep,
That's-
yep.
Of course. All right, motion passes, Trent. We're good and we have the schedule. Okay. Now I'll need a motion to go into executive session. Third time's a charm, for the discussion of Fair Education Collective, bargaining agreement, inviting in Superintendent Dressick.
Yep.
And Dr. Rockman. I have a motion.
Oh.
Please. Thank you, Jane. Second. Seconded by Karen. All right, we're officially moving into executive session. Thank you all. Well, thank you so much for your participation tonight.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
time.
We're
We're in.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve a tentative agreement between the Old Saybrook Board of Education and the Old Saybrook Para Educators Connecticut Independent Labor Union. I'll let you fill in the numbers there. July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Or abstentions? Did you get that, Trent?
Got it.
Okay, very good. Any discussion at this point? Good, the motion carries.
Reminders.
By the full reminders, we have reminders, I won't go through them, but just to direct folks to the reminders. Our next meeting being September 24th. And, there is a, I think, there is a meeting for. I don't have my glasses, I can't see it, the surplus, when is that? That's
16.
Thank you, at the Duffy Pavilion on September 16th. So we're encouraged to attend if we can.
I'm sorry, what was that meeting about, Alan?
Oh, that's the budget surplus for the town. It's at the Duffy Pavilion on the 16th at 6 p.m. It's a 4th item down, Jim. Okay. Without any further discussion, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor of adjournment?
What's the?
We don't need to vote on it.
Well, I think we have a motion, a second. Yeah. Kind of do have a. All right.
Yeah, I,
Do we typically vote on adjournment?
Always give you something and we.
Always do.
Yeah, always do.
See, you can't wait for 9 months.
Yeah.
So
You
we
can always
have,
leave, but.
All those in favor?
we have, first, we have a second. Do we have all those in favor of the motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, anybody opposed?
any discussion? Wait,
And
wait,
no, and no discussion? No discussion. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.